I'd noticed the TED Talks. It's a lot of kind of like this big motivational, jump up and down, get excited stuff, and they're all really clever. These people are far more intelligent than I am, and kind of seem to have all this kind of wisdom to offer. And I don't know if I have that, and I can't sort of speak for other people's experience. So my TED Talk is just going to be basically a little run through of how I ended up where I am today, the few things that I've learned, and I suppose maybe some advice I can give you from what I've learnt. So we'll start at the beginning. This is my family, minus one little sister who was born after this photo was taken. This little style master here is me, obviously. And it's kind of, I love this photo because it reminds me of growing up, like these sandals. I hated wearing these sandals because in the heat, like, and you get all mucky in your feet, and mum makes you tuck your shirt in because that's what you're supposed to do, and like pants are pulled up to your belly button. And I kind of look back and I think about all the things, I had to go to church every Sunday and all these things. It's just, why do I have to do this? And I was like, when I'm older, I'm going to do things my way, and that's kind of the way I've done it now. And that's why I'm in a pair of pluggers, a pair of shorts, and a singlet, because after going to a private school and having to wear a uniform all the time, I was like, when I get a job, I don't want to have to wear a suit and a tie. And so I kind of look at this and it reminds me of that. So yeah, when I was a kid, all I ever wanted to be was an artist when I grew up. And kind of as I went through school and as I got a bit older, it kind of seemed like, maybe that won't happen. But I always kept drawing, I always enjoyed drawing. I got in a lot of trouble at school for drawing all the time in, math class, in, every class. But I always kept doing it. And, while I was doing detention, I was still honing those skills. And so this is basically, I'm just going to run you through how I ended up to be the point where I am, where only recently I've become a full-time artist, and that's what I do for a job now. And it's just crazy to look back and think, I grew up and I wanted to be an artist, and now it's actually happening. But they kind of went through a whole stage of, crappy jobs and learning things and making mistakes to get to this point. So this is when I first became an artist. This is the first art-related job I ever had, which was spraying surfboards. And as you can see, when I was a teenager, I thought I knew everything, and I was like, it was all about being tough and all that kind of stuff. And I can't actually remember who took this photo or when it was taken, but this is the working environment that I worked in. This is winter, hence the beanie, but usually I'd literally wear what I'm wearing now, boardies and a singlet. There was no health and safety or kind of anything like that. It was basically just kind of a mess in a suburb, and this has a big. The work I do now is really related to this. The being at the factory, and it's a real blokey kind of environment. And I go and see art galleries, and I see art, and when I was younger, and I'd kind of think, what can I make my art about? I'm like, maybe I'll, paint celebrities or something like that. And then the big thing for me was realising, going back to this and going about, what do I know about and what can I tell people about? And basically what I know about is working in dirty factories and, all the stuff related to that. So this is, for 8 years I was a surfboard artist. I went to uni for 3 years, hated it, surfed the whole time. Had a great time. I enjoyed uni because I was getting youth allowance, and which is government subsidised wages, plus working 2 jobs as well. But I probably spent more time at the beach than I did in lectures. And even while I was in lectures, I usually end up nodding off and drawing, and so I kind of missed a lot of stuff, but I was still drawing and still honing those skills, which I now use. So these are just a few of kind of the sprays that I used to do. And this was all at a surfboard factory in Rockingham, which is where I spent my early years. This one's a funny one because I actually did this. I mean, this is quite a famous image, but this exact spray I was walking past a Billabong store in Freo, and I'd had this board in a magazine, and I noticed in the Billabong store in Freo they'd painted their board exactly the same as this one that I did. A lot of people kind of get offended when people copy their work, but I thought, I was only like 19 or 20 at the time, I was like, wow, I must be doing something all right if people are copying it. More surfboards. So after working for, I think, the first 5 years, I had a friend, Jules, who I worked with, who got a job in the US, and I said, he was managing a surfboard factory. I said, oh, Jules, can you get me a job working there? This is when I think I was only 22 or 23 at the time. And he said, yeah, I'll send him an email and see, if I can get you a job. And he did. He literally got me a job there, basically getting paid cash. I didn't have a visa or anything like that. I just kind of went there and did it. And when I was 22, I'd never, I think it was only the second time I've been overseas, and I was terrified. I went on my own. It was in Philadelphia, and the first weekend I was there, I was watching the news, and there was like all these murders on the news and guns everywhere, and I was terrified. But the confidence that it gave me to just like get up, leave my full-time job, and go, I'm going to go to the other side of the country and work somewhere with these people I've never met, but I know how to paint surfboards, so I know when I get there I can paint surfboards. And so this is the new little spray boat I had. So obviously, because I didn't have a social security number, I couldn't get an apartment, I couldn't get things like that. So I lived in a motel for 3 months it was, and it was the first proper winter I'd been in with snow and stuff. So I was terrified of the snow. It was so cold. I'm used to being dressed like this, and so I spent a lot of time. As you can see, that was my dinner every night. There was a pizza shop down the road. I literally ate pizza for 3 months, and for the first time in my life, I was like, when I left. But yeah, one of the biggest breakthroughs that's happened in my life happened in this hotel room. Because it was so cold outside, and I was kind of scared of, I thought I was going to get shot if I stepped outside or something. I spent a lot of the time. I hadn't spent time drawing. I was just spraying surfboards, and I kind of rediscovered drawing when I was living in this hotel room because I had nothing else to do. And at the time, all I had was paper and a pen. I didn't have pencils or paints or anything like that. So I started drawing with this pen on these little A4 sheets of paper. And slowly I discovered, that I really enjoyed working with pen. And that's kind of one of the things I'm known for now is these large-scale pieces that I do in pen, which I'll show you later on. But yeah, it just gave me a huge amount of confidence living in this other country, away from my family. Meeting all these new people, and just it opened my eyes to what a big world there is outside of Perth. And all these guys, I still keep in contact with these guys, and a lot of these guys have followed their dreams. This guy, I taught him how to sand surfboards and how to laminate surfboards, which is glassing the surfboard. He now lives in Hawaii, and he just sands surfboards and surfs half the day and sands surfboards for the rest of the day. And he lived in Philadelphia before that. And if you know Philadelphia, there's no surf there whatsoever. And now he lives basically where the best surf in the world is. So it's kind of, my biggest thing has always been, I let the passions, the things I'm into, which is mostly surfing, snowboarding, they dictate my life. Which as I've been growing up, I've kind of been told that's not the way to go. You should save money to buy a house and get a steady job and all this kind of stuff. But I think it's that old saying about we're here for a good time, not a long time. And I really believe that. I think, when I worked in that surfboard factory, I wasn't getting paid very much, but I'd work till 3 in the morning. I'd get into work I'd surf all day, get into work at 5 o'clock and work till 3 in the morning. Go to sleep, get up, surf all day, go to work. That was some of the greatest times of my life, just literally surfing all day. And all I look back at that with is fondness now. And I've got lots of friends I've got friends that own multiple houses and all these kinds of things. And even I remember my dad, one of the things my dad said to me was, after you're doing all this traveling, you need to come home and you need to get a steady job, and you should buy a house, you should buy a property and all this kind of stuff. And I said to my dad, when I'm lying on my deathbed, I'm not going to think about, I love that house I bought and all this, I remember that car I had. I'm going to think about the times when I was surfing for 8 hours a day while all my mates were at work, and then I'd go in and get my work done at night. So this is me surfing in the winter, freezing, hence the gloves and the thing. And you can't see there was no snow there, but there was actually little bits of snow on the beach. So that was a big experience as well. This is all part of the philosophy of here for a good time. I kind of, for a while, I had a little thing with my brother. It was we call it specky nude shots. Who can get the most spectacular nude shots? So this is in the Rocky Mountains, and there's multiple photos of this. It's kind of one of the things I've done while I travel. I've saved you seeing everything, obviously. So this is after working in the US and then coming back. I studied graphic design for a while. I did that for a little while. And then I a mate brought up the idea of going to Canada, living in Canada, working in the snow. And I'd never been snowboarding before, so we went there. I worked in the snow for 6 months, and if there's one thing I want you to leave with today, it's that you should all go to Canada, live there, and work on a ski hill for at least 6 months of your life. It's the best thing I ever did. If I wasn't so old, I'd just go back and do it. And I have friends, this is 3 or 4 years ago, and I have friends who are still there, working there now. And when I just worked in the, I was a qualified graphic designer, and I was an artist, I was all these things, but I just worked in there fitting people's ski boots. But every day I'd have a 3-hour lunch break and I'd go snowboarding for 3 hours. So it was, I worked for 3 hours in the morning, snowboard for 3 hours, worked for 3 hours in the afternoon. Once again, it was just, it was about working to live, not living to work. So this is kind of some of the things we did in the snow. This is coming into summer. We built a little jump and you had to try and clear this, and this guy landed straight in there. So that was good fun. But yeah, so it's another, I can't highly recommend enough traveling. Don't finish school and get a job and get a mortgage. Travel, see the world, and if you have to do it on your own, do it on your own. A lot of the traveling I did on my own, and it's given me so much confidence. Like if you go to this country you've never been before, and you end up in these scary places in the middle of the night, and you don't know where you are, and you're lost. But then you come out the other side of it, and you just learn so much from that, and you get so much confidence. And traveling's given me more confidence than probably anything else I've done. This is after living in Canada for 6 months. I did a road trip in a Winnebago for 3 months across the states with a few mates. And I recently did the same thing all over again with my girlfriend, because she'd never been to the States. So we did it all over again. So this is the Grand Canyon. This is the Grand Canyon, specky nude. And I was terrified standing at the edge. I'm scared of heights, by the way. So there was kind of multiple things went into that photo. This is in the subway in New York. You can see I'm kind of strapped with everything that you need. I've got my skateboard on the back, backpack, and my surfboard. I actually had a tour bus in New York City. They have these big double-decker tour buses, and they drive down the street, and the guy has a microphone. He tells people, this is the Empire State, this is that. And I was walking down the street with that on my back and the surfboard, and the guy with the microphone, this is like, I can't remember what street it was, but there's thousands of New York's packed, there's people everywhere. And this guy's like, hey buddy, where are you going surfing? And like the entire street of these thousands of people looked at me, and they probably thought I was the weirdest guy, but I kind of thought, that's pretty cool. It is weird to be walking through the middle of New York with a surfboard, and on a skateboard on my back, and I was like, this is living, It was embarrassing, but at the same time it was empowering, I suppose. So yeah, this is me skateboarding through the traffic, going the other way. It's another philosophy of mine. Is it's good to rebel a little bit. It's certainly got me in trouble over the years. But you gotta go your own way and do your own thing. So after traveling for all these years and kind of having a good time, I kind of thought, wow, I'm nearly 30. I need to, maybe it's time I had a good go at being an artist aside from a surfboard artist, like a proper artist, like with shows in galleries and stuff like that. But I didn't know, I had no idea what to do. I just knew, I like drawing with pen. I've got this pen thing. And so I kind of, because it had all been stewing in my head, all these things I was going to do when I got back. The first thing I did when I got back was enter this competition and do the biggest, most ridiculous pen portrait I could, which is this one. It's a portrait of a friend of mine, Matty B, who I met surfing. Matty B, he was the first West Australian rapper to release a hip-hop album. So I did this huge portrait of Matty B on the ground. And while I was doing this, at the same time I was trying to get a show at a gallery, but I kind of hadn't approached any galleries. I was just trying to work out, because I didn't pay much attention at uni, I didn't really know how do you go about being a professional artist. So I was just wondering, how am I going to do it? How am I going to get a show? You got to fill out all these forms and applications, and I'd rather go surfing. So the whole time I just kept making work, So I made that work, and it got shown it got in the Black Swan Prize. And the guys who were hanging the Black Swan Prize are actually the owners of the gallery where I show my work now, and they saw my work, they really liked it. I literally had a coffee with them that week, and they offered me a show in like 3 months' time. So it just it felt like I fell into it, but really I was I was working hard, you know, I was making plenty of work. People always say to me, how do I get a show with an art gallery? And I said, well, you just do a ton of work. And then if someone comes to you and they see your work, at least you can show them a ton of work, not just that one work that you did. This is another one of Maddie. This one won me the South Perth Emerging Artist Award, which is funny because the year after this, I went to the 10-year anniversary of that award. They invited all the previous winners, and one of the people who was there was my old art teacher from year 10 who gave me a D for art in year 10. And just quietly wasn't one of the prize winners, so that was very satisfying as well. So yeah, this is some works from my first exhibition, which I had at Linton & Kay, and all these kind of, the way I approach my work is the way I approach my life, so I like to think. You kind of see there's kind of paint just thrown everywhere and scratchy pen there, and you know, when you do this kind of spray paint over the top of that pen, because it's on paper, you kind of, once you spray paint it, it's on there, it's not coming off. Those drips are there, and you know, you don't know what's going to happen, but you just kind of got to have a crack and see what happens. And I think that's maybe what's made my work stand out a little bit. This work is exactly related to the thing I was talking about before, when my dad said, you've got to get a mortgage, you should do all these things. And so it's kind of about, you know, everyone, I can't believe people spend $300 on a pair of sunglasses. That's almost a surfboard, you know? Money can be spent so much better. So this was like, you know, the idea of the guy on the deathbed with the Ray-Bans. Like, you're not going to be there thinking about all the crap that you own, going, oh yeah, I've spent my life well. You're going to be thinking about the time you're screaming down the hill on a snowboard, you know, having the time of your life and just partying every day. That's, you know, that's the good life. That's what you're going to think about. And that's what I think about now. I wish I was back there, you know. So yeah, these are some more works. This kind of way of working with the scribble here was literally when I used to do the drawings with pen. When the pen runs out and you go like that, that's literally all that is, you know. It's the other thing, you don't need to overthink things. You just kind of work and do what you can, and whatever comes out, and you just kind of roll with it. This is a portrait of a friend of mine now. All my work is kind of people I know, things that I know about. It's, you know, for me as an artist, the thing is to make works about the stuff that you know. And, you know, I can't paint Beyonce because I don't know anything about Beyonce, you know. It's like, people might like that, but it's not for me. This one was printed on a Hale t-shirt a little while ago, which was literally, I just got an email from Hale. They approached me and said, we'd like to use this on a t-shirt. And so they printed the t-shirt. It's got my name on the tag and all that kind of stuff. And because I surf, obviously, Hale's a big surf brand. I thought, wow, that's really cool. And the funny story about this one is that at the exhibition, apparently the gallery told me a little old lady bought it. That's the other thing I've kind of learned is to, you know, obviously never prejudge, but you just never know who'll like your stuff. You should never think, I won't do this because these people like it, or I'll do this because these people like it. Just kind of do what you want to do and put it out there and see what comes back, you know. You shouldn't overthink it. So yeah, these are just more ones. So this was after my first exhibition, literally on the opening night, one of the people that came was doing this development in the city, and they offered me a studio space there, which I had for a year, because at the same time I was like, oh, I need an art studio and all this stuff. And they literally gave me a studio for a year, rent free. So this is my best mate Shane here. This was at the opening of at the studio, and this big baby. If you might have seen this on William Street in the city. There's a big giant baby next to Avery. So that's my baby, that one. These ones are some really neat ones that I do sitting on the floor in front of the telly at home. It's kind of like my yoga. You see my other stuff, it's kind of all over the place. This is like my relaxation, you know. So this is, I did an art residency up north. I won a competition and they gave me an art residency up north. So this is me changing my second flat tyre. This is another thing about travel giving you confidence. So when I was a kid, we used to do trips up north every year, but my dad, you know, obviously organised everything. And when you're a kid, everything's done for you. And so this was kind of the first time when I went out into the middle of the desert, and I did it just on my own with my girlfriend. And I can't tell you how much of a man I felt like, you know, like driving my car and putting up the tent. And my girlfriend thinks I'm amazing now because I can make a fire, you know, like. So all these things, he's traveling, and just the act of like changing a tire. It's all right, I'll change the tire. You know, the confidence that gives you, you know, to just kind of go out and do things on your own and have a crack, it goes a long way. So this is I literally worked out of this little building here for 6 weeks. One of the greatest things I've done. This building was heritage listed as well, which is why the plastic's on the floor. I may have dripped a few little bits of paint here and there, but keep that on the down low. So yeah, this is my campsite, which I set up. Still very, very proud of this. And I'm actually doing the same thing in a couple of weeks. We're going up there again. It's another thing, before you travel overseas, you should see a little bit of Western Australia as well. You have no idea how lucky we are to live in this place. And it blows my mind that people haven't been up north to Karajini and Exmouth and all these places. It's mental. You should be there at some point in your life. So yeah, I've got a similar photo of when I'm really little, jumping into this exact same place. Yeah, these are some portraits I did while I was up north. This one is kind of interesting because, I did this really fast. I literally did this in about 20 minutes. And this kind of bit of paint that goes up there, that's my favourite bit in the whole work. And that bit was literally when I was trying to flick some paint up there to paint up there, and it flicked it over the face. And that's kind of what I mean about, you just kind of get into it, and, life is like that. Just get into life, have a crack, see what happens, and sometimes, it's happy accidents. These things happen, and, that's my favourite part of that artwork. Yeah, there's some more. These are all just with spray paint. These are all really big, these ones too. This one is Eskimo Joe. I did their cover artwork for their last album, which was just their lead singer Cav saw my work in the gallery and liked it. And so, yeah, it's really cool because these guys were, when I was in high school, these guys were like a band. And so it's like, yeah, it's crazy that this band I was listening to in high school, and then I did their cover artwork. So that was pretty cool. Oh yeah, this is my t-shirt there. Yeah, with my name up the top, which I'm pretty sure my last name's spelt incorrectly on that, but anyway, I'll take it either way. This one just reminds me that, you're never too old to learn new things and try new things. Like, because I didn't really pay attention at uni, I never learnt to do printmaking. So recently I just did a printmaking course, and kind of these things are little etchings you do in copper, and then, so I've kind of, and, there's not, the thing with art is, with etchings, there's kind of these rules about you've got to sign it and number it, and it's got to be one on a perfect clean bit of paper. And I just, and I've done ones like that, but the first thing I did when I learnt this new thing was like, wow, I want to do this and this and this and try all these new things, and things I hadn't seen. That's kind of what this is, and it's being willing, a lot of my art is being willing to, the kind of progression I've had is from this kind of neat thing to then spray painting around, but being careful not to like ruin the neat, perfect thing that I've made. To my next exhibition is going to be a bunch of stuff where I've done this neat thing, I spend 8 hours on that, and then in 30 seconds I spray paint over the top of it. And I think that's a good, that's kind of the way I try to approach life, and that's kind of, if there's any advice I can give you, which is probably pretty limited because I'm no expert, but you've just got to get out there, you've got to have a crack, you've got to work hard, but you should do what you love. Life's not about money and owning stuff. Life's about having a good time, because, you could get hit by a car tomorrow and it'll be all over. So you might as well have a good time now while you can. So yeah.